Hi there guys, it's Claire Mockridge here, I trust you're well. I've been meaning to do a little video actually for a little while to explain kind of the I suppose really the variances of what is important when it comes to shoes for children. Now I'm a foot pain specialist, I'm a restorative exercise specialist as well, and I have quite a personal experience when it comes to foot pain. So I have a bit of a duty of care, those of you that are pre and postnatal, for me to educate you about what probably the best types of shoes should be for your children's feet. So those of you that actually come along to my Pilates classes, you'll kind of see me in shoes like these. Okay, you don't necessarily need to you know, kind of go out and buy shoes like this, these are Vibrams here for your children, because obviously that's not really part of their dress code. But one of the good things about these shoes, I guess really, is it kind of ties into the fact that the best shoe for any human, if I'm being honest with you, is actually no shoe. So this shoe, or types like this, is kind of like wearing no shoe. So it's as close to what's called barefoot as possible. Okay, so what I'll sort of explain in this one is, or in this video, is just sort of, I suppose, really the elements of a barefoot shoe. So there aren't many brands, unfortunately, in the UK which are completely barefoot, but we want to try and get our children's feet to still move because they are within the shoe, because children's feet are still developing for, like, you know, right through to their teenage years. So if it is quite important that we look after our children's feet. Again, if you want to sort of see, obviously, your children suffer with as much pain as I suffered with in my 20s, then you know, stop watching now, that's fine. But if I could kind of just take you back 9 years ago, perhaps, was probably the worst few years of my life, because I had a lot of foot pain, and I also received a lot of poor advice on actually fixing it. One of the words of advice as well was sort of, don't take your shoes off. So my feet, a good sort of 9-10 years ago, became so desensitized, I suppose, really, to the earth and the ground and things like that, that I wasn't really even able to walk without, or do my fitness classes without shoes on. So it has been quite a journey for me to kind of get to this point. Anyway, so that's just sort of a little bit of background from me. But it does sort of pain me sometimes, no pun intended, to see certain children, or children wearing incorrect sort of footwear for their age. So I'm going to run through sort of the 3 or 4 elements to a barefoot shoe. So remember, what we're trying to do here is actually get the foot to support the body that's stacked up on top of it. So here's your foot, here's your body stacked up on top of it, rather than the shoe supporting the foot. There's a big difference between us. So that, again, what we want to try and do is get the foot to support the body that's stacked up on top of it, rather than the shoe supporting the foot and desensitizing it and creating sort of, it shuts off the nerves, yeah, because the toes should actually be as flexible and mobile as the fingers are in the hands. Okay, so without further ado, the first thing I would say for a barefoot shoe, or any shoe that you put on a child's foot, it needs to be a wide toe box. So the toe box is the bit with the toe in it, all the toes are in it. Okay, so it needs to be wide enough so when your child, or you as an adult, put your foot on top of that shoe, do your toes go over the edge of it? Does you know, the ball of the foot poke out to the side? If it does, that shoe is too narrow for your foot. So I would say wide toe box is a necessity, so that you don't kind of squash your child's toes or your toes. If you have a look at your toes as an adult and you know that you've crammed your feet in quite a few sort of tight things, then you'll probably notice you've got kind of a bent toe somewhere, or perhaps a bit of a bunion kicking off here somewhere. That's all, generally speaking, caused from ill-fitting footwear, and it's tight toe box often a lot of the time. Okay, so you want to have a wide toe box in a barefoot shoe, or any shoe. You also want to have, the second element would be a flexible sole as well. So again, going back to what I said there the shoe shouldn't be supporting the foot. The foot should be supporting the body that's stacked up on top of it. So children's shoes or adult shoes don't actually need arch support. The arch should be formed from, you know, as soon as a baby starts to kind of walk. Then the arch should actually be taking that shock absorption, and that should be, you know, firm enough to withstand anything that's stacked up on top of it. So flexible sole is really important as well. So if you have just happened to have purchased a shoe for your children and you can't do kind of like a Mexican wave type situation with it, then that is, you know, going to be a detriment perhaps to that child's foot, because it can't really feel the floor underneath it. So it needs to be a nice, not necessarily flimsy sole, but it just needs to be a flexible one so the foot can feel the floor underneath it. Okay. And so we've got wide toe box. That's the first thing. So it needs to be wide enough so that when you put your child's foot on it, or yours, if the toes poke over the end or the ball of the foot comes out to the side here, the toe box is far too narrow. It's going to cram the toes in there. Okay. So the second thing is flexible sole. Okay, so flexible sole, and you definitely want no heel on a shoe as well for a child. I've actually seen like baby shoes have like a tiny heel on them, very small heel, completely unnecessary. I know a baby isn't walking yet, but if it's wearing a shoe with a heel on it, it is kind of really throwing its center of gravity forwards. So those of you that come to my, you know, alignment based classes, whether they are, you know, sort of Pilates or you do anything sort of one-to-one with me, then any sort of degree of heel means that the body can no longer stay upright. So if I put sort of something underneath this heel here, it actually pushes my body weight forwards. The higher the heel, the more the angle and the more pressure it gets placed on the ball of the foot. Okay, so if I just show you this shoe, I happen to have a couple of shoes that aren't necessarily barefoot. I don't wear them anymore, but these are just for display purposes. That is a heel on that shoe, completely unnecessary. Okay, it's only a couple of millimeters, but it's high enough to thrust the weight forwards. Okay, so when we stand, we should all actually be standing with our body weight pitched in the heel of the shoe or heel of the foot. But in most cases we're kind of standing more here on the ball of the foot. So if you'd like to do me a favour and just stand up right now and pop your feet to their hip distance, and then actually just check where you're standing. So if you're standing with your weight forwards on the arch or the ball of the foot, you should actually be standing more in the heel of the shoe or or ankle of the shoe. This is a good example of a very narrow toe box. So can you see how the angle of this shoe goes like this? Yeah, I'm pretty sure for most people's feet, their big toe goes like that, doesn't it? Yeah. So when I actually put this shoe on, and my foot just like recently before I recorded the video, my foot actually felt violated. I'm not going to lie to you there. So I kind of put it on, it's like, ow! So my big toenail really poked in at the end there. It's like that was not comfortable. That was not comfortable at all. So no heel. Okay. So have a look at your children's shoe. Here's another good example of a tight toe box. So again, you can sort of see the angle of the shoe there, and that, you know, it doesn't look like a particularly big heel, but it is enough. Okay, it is enough to cause dysfunction in the foot itself, which then unfortunately can sometimes lead to knee pain in myself, pelvic pain, lower back pain, shoulder pain, neck pain. So you've got to try and make sure that the shoe is you know, kind of nice and flexible. So I'll just run through the three things again there. So you want the shoe to be wide at the toe box. Yeah. The second thing is you want to be able to bend the shoe. Here's a pair of my trainers here. Pair of trainers there. Okay. So a pair of trainers. Yeah. So I can kind of do the Mexican wave almost with my trainers. So that's actually how flexible they are. And I can also tell you that there's no heel. You don't need arch support in your shoes either. Yeah. So in this set of shoes, there is no insole in there whatsoever. Okay, so yeah, the arch should be doing its job. Okay, so any questions at all, feel free to just pop a little comment below. I'll take your questions now if you have anything. If you're in the UK and you are interested in getting some barefoot shoes for your children, because I know obviously they're starting next week, but yeah, perhaps you could start off with a trainer or a sneaker, whatever you call them. But they do also sell, you know, sort of shoes that are, you know, regulated. I know of some private schools actually here in the UK that it actually says for, I know one of my friends, I think her school, it's a boys' school, and the regulation shoe, basically in the guidelines, it says black shoe with heel. I mean, seriously, okay. So, as I say, we do not need heels on our children's shoes. But this doesn't have any heel on it whatsoever. Okay, so no heel on that one. But yeah, if you're interested in getting a pair of, you know, good barefoot shoes that I'm sort of demonstrating here, that's the logo of the company, and it's called Vivobarefoot. Okay, so it's V-I-V-O Barefoot. And just have a quick search through there. I do actually happen to have, because I'm sort of associated with the brand, this is not a sales video by any stretch of the imagination, but have a look around their site and you'll kind of get a bit of a feel for what barefoot shoes are. And they do have quite a good shoe collection for children. And I happen to have a 20% discount code. So I'll pop the code actually at the bottom there. So they have, pretty sure they do free returns as well. So order a couple of sizes and then see if they kind of fit your kids' feet. And you go from there. Any questions? Any questions at all? Type them in at the bottom there if you want to. And yeah, if not, just pop them on. If you're watching this as a recording, hello, and I'll say goodbye. Hopefully that's been beneficial for you. See you soon. Bye for now.